in the end. It comes out to Tom James. Good job! Oh, what a goal for Tom James! Oh, that was special!
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Orient Live. The O's are playing at the Lamex Stadium, home to last season's second place in League Two Stevenage, because obviously we were the champions, weren't we? And it's a big fixture in League One as the O's are looking to keep the playoff hopes alive and hopefully diminish those dreams of Stevenage as they're also going in the hunt for the playoff spaces. And it is our old friend, I think it's fair to say, Steve Evans, Stevenage. They fought a close battle last season as well, but there was only one winner of the league, wasn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. But as you say, a tough battle that Richie Wellens, as Orient manager, yet to get a win over Steve Evans. The last two results, obviously very disappointed in 3-0 defeats, but you've got to put that behind you. And I think we've learnt lessons from that. I think I was on the stream about a month or so ago, and it was the same kind of chat about a Northampton side under John Brady, where Richie had yet to beat them as Orient manager, and he did so that day. So one thing about Richie Wellens is he's very tactical, he's very insightful, analytical. He looks at where he's made mistakes maybe previously and works on them, and hopefully we can see the same today, and he'll finally get that monkey off his back, and that win against Steve Evans will come today.
Cast our minds back to last January, Jabo, me and you. We tried to do a live show from Stevenage, and that was quite a dark day, and it was a bad day in the sense of, you know, it was probably the only time in that season where we thought our promotion challenge could maybe be faltering a little bit. We managed to get back on track, but they've really ruffled our feathers. They're a really good side. They're really direct, and they cause every team trouble.
Yeah, they have. And I think they've surprised a few teams this season in the league, and we weren't sure if their style would be a match in League One, but they've proved and shown otherwise, and they're good at what they do. They've brought some good players in this season as well to add to the quality, and they retain the ball in the attacking area and recycle it and keep that pressure on. So by no means it's going to be an easy task. But last year it was a horrible place to go in the weather, the conditions, and so just hopefully we make it a better day today.
The O's can pick up some points against Steve Evans for the first time since Richie Wellens took charge. But it's actually the first team coach Paul Terry that we talked to this week to get his thoughts ahead of the game. So let's hear him now.
A bit like us, Stevenage have adapted well to League One life this season. Why do you think they've taken to it so well?
I think they're just really consistent with what they do. Everyone's expects them to fall away, and they don't. They keep winning, keep getting points when no one expects them to. But they're very good at what they do. You know what I mean? And credit to them, they've had a real good season so far, and probably deserve to be where they are at the moment.
Well, what will we need to do well to stop their main threats, do you think?
We've got to match them physically first, you know what I mean? They're a physical side that like to put it on you a little bit. So can we match that and also try and bring out what we're good at in the game as well? Can we be clever in and around them, getting in around their box and like I say, keep saying clever play, but little bits of cleverness in and more shots on goal.
They played a day later than us this week, played on Wednesday at Peterborough. What did you make of their performance?
Yeah, you know what? I don't think the result reflected the performance. I thought they was better than 3-1 suggested. But Peterborough are a good side at the minute in real good form. So when they get chances, they take them, and they took their chances on Wednesday night. So listen, whether it, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? These players are so fit now and they can adapt to everything, and when you're on a good run, you've got something to fight for like they have. Tiredness doesn't seem to creep in as much as if it was if you was down the bottom end of the table.
Right then, don't forget, if you're watching on live on the YouTube stream, then UK fans, you can pick up an audio pass to listen along with Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock, and international fans, you can get a streaming pass to watch along with us here on Orient Live. But now, before we go any further, let's take a look at how the O's are lining up for this afternoon's tough test. In goal for Leyton Orient, as always, it is our number one. It's Solbrin. Across the back line, we have Rob Hunt and Tom James in the fullback positions, with Omar Beckles and Brandon Cooper in the middle of defence. In midfield, returning to the side and wearing the armband is Dan Pratley, and alongside him is Idris El Mazouni. In the number 10 role is Max Sanders, and then the three attackers is Shaq Ford, Ruel Sotiriou, who has just received his call-up for Cyprus, his first ever call-up. Congratulations, Ruel. And leading the line, is Joe Pigott. And on the bench for the O's is Sam Howes, Jaden Sweeney, Jordan Brown, George Moncur also returns from his illness, Dan Adu-Ajay, Zach Albiero and Keon Edwards. So, a few changes for the O's, and no surprises really. It's, fixtures have been coming thick and fast. Tuesday night was a bit of a battle, but it's no surprise that he's freshened it up a little bit here.
Yeah, I think this is what we're talking about learning from your mistakes, perhaps. I think this is a lineup that is to do with how Stevenage play. We all know that they're a very big physical side. By bringing players in like Darren Pratley and Joe Pigott, you're matching them up 1-for-1 in terms of they're both players over 6 foot. They're going to help you when defending set pieces. They're going to help you winning those physical duels. And you've got I'm sure Jabo will be better placed to tell me, when you play these teams where they're very direct and they're very physical, you've got to win your duels first. You've got to do the dirty side of the game first. Then you can play your nice football that we associate with Richie Wellens and Leyton Orient at the minute.
It's a good point. You think back again to January last year when we travelled there. We've been hit with injuries in that Northampton game where we've lost Omar Beck and Dan Happy, and it was a young, maybe inexperienced side that did get dusted aside within the first half hour. I think he just got sent off. But it was a day to forget. You need, especially when you're coming up against the Steve Evans side, you need those experienced heads, as well as being maybe a bit taller and more physical than the likes of Jordan Brown or whoever up top. Joe Pigott, Dan Pratley, they've got a lot of league games, and you need that when you're coming up against housery is what they call it. Against a side that knows how the dark arts. I won't say the first part of that word, but you do need that experience, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. And like Brendan was alluding to there, you can definitely see that he's picked a team with experience, people that have a number of games behind their belts. So when it does get touchy, when they are trying to sort of like ruffle your feathers a bit, they should have the calm and they'll understand how to just keep the temperament and that spine of the team. They can give the information throughout the game to just calm things down or slow the game down when it's needed, or to sort of like lower the temperament so we don't get anyone sent off in this game.
And Darren Pratley is the real big one there. Jordan Brown is the one who's dropped to the bench, and we were chatting on Tuesday night with some fans who think he's probably player of the season. So it's quite a bold call from Richie to maybe drop Jordan from the team, but again, it's an indication of what he's expecting maybe. Yeah,
I'd probably agree with those shouts. I think Jordan's got to be right up there in terms of those player of the season contention conversations, but I think if you're talking about Richie says a lot about it in terms of the fact that a lot of these players are playing at this level week in, week out for the first times in their careers, and Jordan Brown is one of them. And perhaps maybe what we're saying is just a little bit of a dip in his physicality and his fitness levels and his energy levels. Playing week in, week out in that central midfield role does take a lot out of you, and perhaps what we're seeing is just dipping a little bit because his body's not used to playing Saturday, Tuesday every week, and maybe it's just a case of bring Darren Pratley in, experienced head. He, like Jabo says, he's going to calm people down, he's going to organise, he's going to be that leader on the field, and you just give Jordan Brown a little rest. And what you do have by having him on the bench is that he can come on, and with his versatility, he can play anywhere and he can perform any role, so he's a great option to have off the bench as well.
And looking towards Joe Pigott as well then, Jabo, we said on Tuesday, and Richie said as well, it's a big final 9, now 8 games for Joe. Probably hasn't scored as many as he'd like to. And Tuesday he won his battles, he held the ball up well at times, but strikers are made through the goals they score. So he's going to be the one that everyone's really looking to get back in amongst the goals, and he's going to have to really put himself up against a strong Stevenage defence.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to be called upon today, because we have to somewhat retain some of the ball in the half, unless it's going to be a long afternoon. But I mean, he's got the experience, and every time the season draws to a close, you kind of want to finish with a flurry of goals. And he knows in himself he would have liked to have scored a few more goals at this point. So I'm sure it's in the back of his mind. He wants to get the goals. He wants to get out there playing. He's got the shirt, got the opportunity to show what he's about. So hopefully, it'll be good timing as we're on our last push.
And Ollie O'Neill dropping out the squad, which is a blow. I believe that's with a slight injury. We don't know the extent of that. But in an attacking sense, he's been so key since his arrival. And now Ruel moves further out wide, we will imagine. Shaq Ford on the right. They're not natural wingers, you'd say. Do you think that's a good thing when it comes to Joe Pigott? You've got two other players that can play central, can get close to him, win those flick-ons. You know, they're players that love being in and around the box and getting their shots away, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that's a great shout in terms of from Pigott today. We're going to be expecting him, when the ball gets to him, he's got to make it stick. He's got to win that physical battle with like to Sweeney and Van Kooten, who are playing at the back with Stevenage, and then he's got to bring others into play. And like you say, with Ruel and Ford, how we imagine it, Ruel on the left and Ford on the right, they're both cutting in onto their natural foot. They're going to be coming inside naturally, and you've got to hopefully Pigott's going to be able to bring those two into play. And if you can get the ball in and around the box to players like Shaq Ford and Ruel Sotiriou, we know what they can do. They're so good at curling one in from outside the box or getting a shot away from a half yard of space, and that's where hopefully we can find some joy today.
And we've singled out Ruel Sotiriou as our danger man. He has been in and amongst the goals of late. He's been key for in a number of areas, as we'll see here, because we're going to look at some clips, Jabo, and they're not all just goals he scored, because it's what he does, it's what he started doing off the ball. It's his work in the build-up. We're going to see assists. We're going to see pressing. He's becoming more of a complete striker, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely, and you know, he's becoming very dependable as well, especially in front of goal. You know, if a chance falls to him, you're confident that he's going to bury it. But his awareness to sort of like find passes, see others, he's maturing into an all-round good player. I've always liked him, and I'm glad he's having a season where a lot of things are coming to fruition. But you know, he's ever present, and hopefully playing just a bit wider today, he can just like cut inside and fire some shots away.
We're seeing a lot of maybe half chances here that aren't quite hitting the back of the net, but I think that shows his kind of tenacity and his that bulldoggedness he has to always get himself into those goal scoring chances. If he could convert 50% more of them, he'd be formidable.
Yeah, that's probably the most difficult thing as a striker, is getting in those positions. You don't. It's frustrating from a fan point of view when you see some of the chances maybe missed, but it's better that he's getting in those positions time after time, and eventually it'll come and he'll get goals from that, and that's half the battle. The worry is when the strikers, the forwards, they're not getting those positions, they're not getting anywhere near it, then you're like, well, what are they doing here? So I think the fact that he can get into those positions time after time, like you say, he's so aware, he's on the move all the time, he sniffs out a chance from nowhere, he can get a shot off at an angle from nowhere. He's a brilliant player, and he fully deserves his call up to the Cypriot national team this week.
I was just going to come on to the fact that it is his first call up to the senior Cypriot national side, which is fantastic for Ruel, and it must fill him with confidence as well. Coming into today now, he must be feeling on top of the world.
1,000,000%. It's fantastic for him and his family. You know, you're playing for the country your family's from. And so hopefully just give him an extreme boost of confidence today. He's going to step out on the field, think, yeah, I'm the man. Watch what I'm going to show you, Stevenage. So hopefully it gives him that boost. But he's going to be feeling on top of the world, because what a great achievement that is.
Well, what a week it has been for Ruel Sotiriou. Hopefully he can add some more goals to his season's tally this afternoon. But we did catch up with him earlier in the week at the training ground. So let's hear his thoughts ahead of this afternoon's fixture.
Yeah, I wanted to play first team for Cyprus for a while now, and I'm happy I got called up now.
Tell us a little bit about how you found out.
So I got literally a text and then a call, and then the assistant manager literally said, like, we want you to come and stuff. So yeah, I was really pleased.
And I'm sure you've had lots of excited family since you got the call up. Who was the first one that you told, and who have you told since then?
I think I actually told Shaq first, because he was sitting next to me. I know he'll be buzzing off that. But yeah, obviously I went home and told my mum, my sister, so yeah, they were really happy.
And just what does it mean to you to get this call up?
Yeah, obviously my family's from there. My dad was born and raised in Cyprus, and then obviously my grandparents on that side were from there as well, so yeah, so I know.
On to Orient matters. I think it's 3 without a win for us, but we're still in a good position. What's the mood like around the place?
Yes, I feel like it's positive. Obviously, Tuesday was a bit disappointed. felt like more of a loss because of just how the game went. I should have probably scored as well. Yeah, obviously next game it's going to be a tough one, but we're well prepared for it.
Brilliant stuff there from Ruel. And just to stay on the Orient team just for a little bit longer, Brendan, we haven't spoken much about the defence. And whilst it's quite a nice segue into maybe how Stevenage play, but our defence are going to need to be really strong today, and we've already touched on how physical it's going to be, but set pieces will be key. And Brandon Cooper and Omar Beckles have a big afternoon trying to deal with the lumps that Stevenage will throw at us.
Yeah, but if you're going to pick two centre-backs where you'd want that, I think Beckles and Cooper are probably our two most physical centre-backs in terms of just winning their battles and doing the nasty side of the game. And then if you look at the rest of the back four in terms of Rob Hunt and Tom James, they are your out-and-out fullbacks that have played fullback for their whole career. So they'll know the game inside out. They're not bad in a duel. They're not bad in the air. The back four unit is going to have to be very strong today in terms of we know what threat Stevenage can pose in terms of balls into the box. It's going to have to be probably Omar leading it in terms of the organisation side. He's going to have to be hot on that today. But with that back four, it does give you a strong base to build on today.
And from an Orient perspective, Tuesday night's point was, as Ruel touched on there, was pretty a disappointing one in a sense that those playoff spots kind of feel a little bit more distant. Stevenage are another team that are on the hunt. If you listen to Steve Evans, he plays, the card where they're not in contention for it, and he likes to be the underdog and whatnot. But they are. They've got games in hand, or games out of hand even, and they're in the prime position to take it. So today, if Orient want any hope of keeping those playoff dreams alive, we need to take all 3 points today, really. Yeah,
100%. I mean, I mentioned before that when we played Bristol Rovers at home, I thought that was a massive game. And then today, I think this is in the same breath to really keep it alive, a genuine sort of opportunity to have a real good chance of making it. Then we need to be sort of walking away from today's game with ideally maximum points. Obviously, Stevenage have been trying this year, to surprise a few of us, but they're hanging in there, and they've earned it, but they're by no means like the finished article. I think they've lost about 1 or 2 in the last 9, so they're just hanging in there. So he's playing it down, but they want it. Once you're in that position, you want to see it through. But we hopefully can spoil the party.
And even if the playoffs are maybe feeling a little bit out of touch in distance, there does seem to be, maybe from an Orient fan's perspective, this take a little bit of joy about making it harder for Stevenage to get that. We don't want to see them get it, do we?
Absolutely. You want that edge to a game like this where things are perhaps slipping out of our hands in terms of the playoffs, but you want that extra bit of edge. It's pretty local to us in terms of League One. We've had a lot of quite further away days. The fact that a little bit of edge there is with Steve Evans and Orient is obvious, and then also just the fact that we finished above them in League Two last season. We want to finish above them again and show. Everyone speaks about how Steve Evans and Stevenage had a great season. It probably means in the wider footballing landscape, people talk a bit less about Orient, and we hope that if we can finish the season above them and prove that we've proven last season that we are better than them and we can finish above them, hopefully we can do the same this season. That's something we can definitely aim for.
Right, then we're going to talk a bit more about Stevenage very shortly, but now it's time to remind you of a very special deal we've got going on right now, and as the season draws to a close, there are discounts to be had in the club store. There's 30% off all training wear and replica shirts while stocks last. So head over to the website or get yourself down to E10 and into the Superstore and pick up this season's training wear and replica kits. But now it's time to take a little look at the hosts, and of course it is Steve Evans's Stevenage. It's a real tongue twister. Who the O's have today, and here is how they will be lining up. So here we go. In goal for Stevenage, we have number 1 Tay Ashby Hammond, 2 Luther James Wilden, number 3 Dan Butler, and 6 Dan Sweeney. Ex-Orient loanees, 10 Nick Freeman, number 11 Jordan Roberts, number 15 Terence Van Kooten, 19 Jamie Reid, 23 Louis Thompson, 24 Ben Thompson, and 33 Vidane Oliver. And on the bench for Stevenage is Craig McGilvery, Nathan Thompson, Alex McDonald, Jake Forster-Karski, Elliot List, Nesta Guinness-Walker, and Kane Hemmings. And we touched on it briefly just then, or you touched on it briefly just then, that they're not in the greatest of form. In terms of the times we've played them over the last couple of seasons, now is probably a decent time to be playing them.
Yeah, as good as time as any. I think we saw on Tuesday night we were a little bit leggy, but a game against Port Vale where we mostly dominated, we didn't have to overexert ourselves, is probably better in comparison to Stevenage playing a game later against the Peterborough side who by all accounts ran them ragged and beat them quite comfortably. So I think that extra day's rest should have an impact, and then also the suspension that became public last night with Cole Piergiani, their captain, and they're one of their main attacking threats, despite being a centre-back. Being suspended for 3 games is huge for us in terms of we've seen time and time again, even whether it was as far back as when he was playing for Salford in the National League, he's caused us trouble. So it'd be a big miss for them. It's his first game he's missed all season, and interested to see how they'll line up based on that, because looking at it, it could be their tried and tested 3 at the back that they've played all season, or perhaps they've got 2 Thompsons in there who can more naturally play central midfield. So I'm interested to see whether Steve Evans will change things with the miss of Piergiani.
That Piergiani news wasn't just a massive boost for Orient; it is a massive blow for Stevenage, as Brennan's touched on. You know, he is statistically as well their top-rated player. I mean, you only have to look at the clips from Wednesday night to see that he deserves his 3-game ban. But you know, it's a boost for the O's.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you know, he's been a figurehead for them for. Like, he was strong last season, especially this season again. He's scoring goals, he even gets assists, you know, at the centre half. So, you know, it's a big loss, and his presence on the pitch, he's got a great aura, you know, and he sets a tempo. So hopefully, you know, without him today, he, you know, it can play into our hands and we can capitalise on that.
And, you know, what are you expecting from them though? Because they haven't won in their last 3. They've won their last couple before that, but they've lost to teams as well like Reading, who haven't been massive teams in the league. Yes, they got turned over by Peterborough in the midweek, but maybe does their league position flatter them in terms of the football side that they are? They've done well from set pieces and by being well drilled, but they can be got at, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we saw last season where they suffered a real dip in form in the second half of the season. I think it's a little bit twofold in terms of the fact they play such a unique style of football these days that not a lot of teams come up against. It takes you by surprise, and once you've played them once, you can analyse that game and take that and learn from it. And also kind of touched on what you were saying earlier about Steve Evans and the psychology element in terms of he keeps banging on about them being the underdog and trying to get in the playoffs against all odds and all of this stuff. But once you're 6th with 10 or so games to go, the fans, the wider footballing world, they're going to expect you to finish around the playoffs, and that pressure will build. And sometimes these squads that have been told, look, the pressure's off, suddenly when the pressure comes on, it's difficult to cope with. So yeah, hopefully we can attack that. For us, it's a no pressure game in terms of we're definitely in that position where we're not expecting to get into that top 6, so we can attack Stevenage and hopefully have a real go today.
Steve Evans does a real good job of rattling most opposition fans in this league. I think all other 23 teams aren't his biggest fan, but let's give him credit. It does get results, and as Brendan says, that's what he's good at. You only have to listen to any interview when he's moaning about a referee or boosting the opposition. It's what he does, but it works, and that will stem into the game, and we've got to deal with that. Yeah,
again, we have to be professional. We have to try and rise above it, and then get caught in his game, because he's very good at it. It works well. He's had a lot of success, and I think it plays in the back of managers' heads in terms of, you know, they might not be as pragmatic because they want to just get one over him and do something they probably wouldn't do because they're feeling the moment. So we just have to keep that temperament, stick to our game plan, and hopefully we'll come away with 3 points.
Well, we're going to see some clips now of some Stevenage action of late, and they're an interesting one. You can see here, they're direct, they're strong, they know where the back of the net is, and it's a good combination.
Yeah, it works very well if they get it right, but a lot of this, as we're seeing, is going to be Piergiani in terms of set pieces into the box. They've had the most chances created from set pieces in the division, and that's where we've got to perhaps do a little bit better on our end. I think we have been doing better in recent weeks in terms of our set piece defending, but we've still conceded 14 set piece goals in the league this season. So I'm sure that's something that Richie's going to be working on without Piergianni, they will miss something, but they have still got some big lads in there in terms of the likes of Dan Sweeney and Verdane Oliver. They're all well above 6 foot, and they're all going to cause us problems. So I think that's going to be where the game is won and lost today in terms of balls into the box. Can we be first to them? Can we defend them well? Can we be aggressive? And can we just nullify that threat?
It's not even about being first to the balls. I think it's about being second. You're seeing him most of these goals. It's not even the first action, is it? It's the second that they're so alive to, and they look very well drilled in that area.
Yeah, they play percentage in the sense of they're alive at the second phase, and that's when a lot of people switch off because the opposition defenders will think they've done the job in the first phase. And they ring the box, they ring the play very well, keep that pressure on, and they're first to the ball in the second phase. So we have to stay alert, we have to stay sharp, but we've got the right defenders in that are about that life. So I think we'll be all right.
Right then, kick-off is just 5 minutes away, and before we get to that, it's time to look at the first Scottish supporters club that the club has set up in recent weeks. So it's time to hear from the Saltire O's.
My name's Rory, and we live in Edinburgh, and we're Saltire Orient. Come on!
I started supporting Leyton Orient when I was 11 years of age. I got involved in a community sports programme that offered us at the time a free ticket to come and watch Leyton Orient. I remember the match, it was Leyton Orient against Rochdale. We won 2-0, and then since then I was absolutely hooked. I went on to get the £10 season tickets that Barry Hearn used to offer, and there was probably about 20 or 30 of us who used to go every single game. So that's how I first got involved with watching Leyton Orient.
I was only just turned 17 when I moved to Scotland. And I'd say, other than obviously my closest friends, Orient was the one thing that I really missed about living down south. I try and get to as many games as possible, try and get to as many of the big games as possible. But it is difficult watching from afar. But it does make you really appreciate the work that all the media guys do, because it makes you feel a lot closer to the club. And sort of you still feel that you've got that link to the club.
We decided to form Saltire Orient, so Seb and myself, we thought there's something missing up in Scotland. There's a lot of Leyton Orient fans who are dotted all around Scotland. I know we've got some in Kilmarnock, we've got myself in Edinburgh, we've got Seb in Fife, and we thought, how can we connect all our fans together? Maybe looking at different travel groups, different options to be able to travel to different games as well, trying to build that community in that group. So we're thinking that obviously if we can form this group, Saltire Orient, it'll bring us all closer together for one unique goal, and that's watching Leyton Orient everywhere we go.
I love hearing the different stories about how people come to follow Orient. Obviously, like myself and Ben, we grew up fairly locally, so the link was already there. But you do hear stories from people like the Kilmarnock boys and a few other people that we have. You hear that they've followed it through just random links. So I was speaking to one guy and his son played as Orient on Football Manager, and that's where the link came from. And from that minute on, he's decided to follow Orient. So I love to hear that the different sort of ways that people have come into contact with the club. And myself and Ben were obviously speaking about obviously how we can sort of bring everyone together, make it easier for them to communicate with each other. So we chose Saltire Orient, obviously Saltire being the national flag of Scotland. Obviously we wanted to get that link in there. We also wanted something that would give like a visual representation. So you come to the Orient games and you see the various Saltires dotted around the Kilmarnocks, the Edinburghs, things like that. So that was really the reason for it. It was good to get a sort of visual thing in there as well with a link to Scotland.
Top stuff there, and if you yourself are from Scotland watching on YouTube, then you can get in touch on X at Saltire Orient. But now it's time to head over to the Lamex Stadium where the players are out on the pitch, and it's a big one. So let's hand over to the very capable hands of Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lamex Good afternoon, welcome to North Hertfordshire, the Lamex Stadium, a game that is vital for both these sides. Both promoted, of course, last season, and both looking to defy the odds and secure a place in the playoffs. 6 points separate the O's and Stevenage have a game in hand. But both sides have got suspension issues for today's game. We know that Ethan Galbraith would not be in contention, a 2-game absence for him after seeing red last week at Wigan. But Carl Piergianni heard yesterday, Matt Hiscock, that he's out for the next 3. Something that the officials didn't see at Peterborough, use of an elbow against Jay Jones.
Yeah, it was interesting. I watched the game in the week and Stevenage were comprehensively beaten, but yeah, Piergianni, I mean, describe it as GBH, I think is being kind. No surprise whatsoever. The authorities have looked at it again. 3-match ban, so he is absent this afternoon. But let's not forget, this is still a very strong Stevenage side, even with the absence of their skipper.
And it's Leyton Orient in the all dark blue kit are going to get this game off and underway, defending the goal away to our right. I think it's going to be your left if you're watching on the stream, and that's the end where there's not an empty seat. They're all being used by the Orient faithful, and they've been in good voice for the last 3/4 of an hour. It's the